This is the old box. Let's see. FSF.
Okay.
But so I don't know, man. I don't know if we caught up or not. But I started my own personal training studio.
Yeah, that's what you told me last time.
Yeah, that's right. So I said, yeah, fuck it, man. And it's literally 200 meters away from FSF. It's the same business terrain, and I only do one-on-ones. Like that's it, man. It's just personal training, and it's a mix of people. I've got some people from FSF. They'll do like one-offs with me. It's like, hey, I want to get my double unders or toes to bar or muscle up or something like that. And then I've got a group of people that are like 1 or 2 times a week.
That's cool.
And they come from all over the place.
That's nice.
And yeah, and I'm looking to kind of expand it out to, I've got 2 people now from level 1s or level 2s that just want to learn some more, just in general, just not just techniques, but also kind of like just being a CrossFit trainer. And I kind of want to expand that out a little bit too, like maybe to like a mentorship kind of thing. Basically what we've had for years on seminar staff, just hanging out with each other, like we get to work out together, we had talk shit. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, man. So that I kind of want to add some kind of structure to that or make it a little bit more formal. Yeah. So
that's awesome. And is it running well? I mean, can you make a living out of that in the long run, the personal training stuff?
Yeah, like I have done zero commercial anything. I don't have an Instagram set up. I don't have a Facebook set up. The only thing I have is a really shitty website because you have to if you're an affiliate, right? Like it's and it's just got like a link like to like my email address basically. Like it's the only thing.
Well, what's the name of the affiliate?
Crushing Goals and Goats CrossFit.
Crushing Goals and Goats.
Crushing Goals and Goats.
Yeah, Crushing Goals and Goats. Let me see if yeah, that's the one. There's the website sucks, man. Like I made it and I'm not a website builder. I think it just says, "Are you ready?" And then it's like contact. Like
that's fucking awesome.
But
nothing else. That's cool.
Yeah, and like the stuff doesn't work, and I was like, oh fuck it, I need to have a website because I'm an affiliate, right? But everything's just word of mouth, man. It's just people, or like I talk to people at the level 1s, the people that want to start their own affiliates, or at the level 2s, they're like, hey, I want to, this feedback shit is good. So is there any other way we can do this? I'm like, yeah, man. And right now, like because I have my kids half the time, when I have my kids, I don't work. It's like period. So I only work on Mondays and Tuesdays, basically. And that's filling up. I'm like, holy shit, man. Like, well, we'll see how that goes, But
that's really nice.
Yeah, eventually I'd like to expand it out to have every day, like options for every day. And then, like there's a couple trainers that I would kind of bring in to kind of run PTs and that, like-minded individuals, that kind of stuff. But that'll be further down the road. Yeah,
it's great. And you're back to, hey Adrian, let's officially talk. I think that's better than.
Yeah, we can. I mean, if whenever I'm recording already, but whenever you guys finish whatever we want to talk out of the record, and then we do like the official introduction and presentation, and that's totally fine.
So that's what I meant.
Let's roll into it, man. There's nothing off limits, man, and like everything's open. So
yeah, I like
I'm
that.
down.
Yeah.
You guys tell me how.
Nothing, not much to tell you. Maybe if you could introduce you. I don't know you much other than whatever Basti told me. So it will be great if you who you are, what are you doing here, and all these things. And I have a few questions about the Lowland Throwdowns, how it went, future, and everything. But we'll see how things go.
Okay, cool. So we just start with an introduction, kind of load it. All right, cool, man. All right, so hey, my name is Nolan Mooney. I'm originally from the U.S. I grew up in San Diego, California. In 2000, I joined the Army, I was active duty Army for 4 years. And then after that, I was in the Air Force National Guard for 4.5 years. So in the Army, I was in the infantry, and then in the Air Force, I was in the fire department. And so in 2006, I found CrossFit, and I was like, I didn't even know I was looking for it, but I found it. You know, I mean, I didn't know I was missing something.
You knew what it is, no?
In
This is it.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, I don't, you know, I didn't know, but this is it. I was sold immediately. For me, it was like it just made a lot of sense. I've always been pretty active. I like outdoor stuff. At the time, I was living in Syracuse, New York, and you know, as a firefighter, I worked like 10 days a month, and so I had 20 days to just do whatever I wanted with. And I was doing in the summertime, it would be mountain biking, rock climbing outdoors. You know, I would do like 5-10K runs, that kind of stuff, a little bit of triathlon stuff. And I needed to be physically fit for my job. So I figured, hey, if I worked out 45 minutes to an hour a day and I can support all of that stuff, the program's got to be good. And so CrossFit really filled a need that I had. In 2008, I did my level 1, and it was just confirmation of everything that I'd already thought. As soon as I started doing CrossFit, I read all the articles in the journal, listened to all the videos that I could find. And from 2008, I started training my brother in the garage. You know, he's like, hey man, I want to join the Air Force too. Can you get me ready? I was like, yeah. So I had no intention of being a trainer. I just figured if I do this CrossFit trainer course, I'll become a better CrossFitter, which would make me a better firefighter and better at rock climbing and all that other stuff. So I started training my brother, and this is my youngest brother. And both of them were living with me at the time. So my middle brother saw the younger one getting bigger. He's like, oh shit, hey, can you train me too? You know, so it just kind of got out of hand. I started training them. I started training my buddies. And then in August 2008, I moved to the Netherlands. And so and that's where I'm currently living now still. So I got to the Netherlands in 2008, and I brought a set of rings and an ab mat with me. And I was like, well, I'll just figure out how to keep doing this CrossFit stuff. And after about a month of hanging my rings in the woods and jumping onto picnic tables and stuff, I was like, man, I got to find a gym. I need to get some weights. And so I walked into a local fitness, and I met the manager, Jules Hermans. And I said, hey, you know, I'm an American. I do this crazy thing called CrossFit. If you guys give me a membership, I'll train your trainers. You know, I'm a CrossFit trainer. I'll train you guys. And he said, sure. And fast forward 6 months, Jules and another buddy that worked there, Dennis, and we started CrossFit FSF. So it was the second affiliate in the Netherlands. We were, you know, I was telling them like, guys, you know, in 6 months, we're going to have like 100 members. This could be rocking and rolling. This would be amazing. Yeah. No, we had 100 members after about 3 years, you know, so maybe the timeline was a little bit off, but it started, you know, the passion, which is, you know, fast forward 12 years, it's still burning pretty hard. So that was 2009 when we actually started the FSF. In 2010, that's when I met Basti, because in 2010 I got on seminar staff, and so that's where our paths crossed for the first time. And you know, way back then, man, it was like what we had gigs like once a month, something like that. It wasn't very often, and every time we met up, it was just a freaking party, man. Like it was, woo, get to exercise, you know, and teach CrossFit.
You really have to see that you're one of the like old school guys of CrossFit in Europe, and I think it's so funny that you have kind of like the same story that I have with my like starting out training my brothers, then a couple of buddies, and then like the whole stuff just grew out of it, and we opened up a box. It was just like I think it was such an awesome time to start an affiliate with CrossFit being totally unknown and being able to make all these experiences and also finally end up being like a CrossFit HQ Flow Master, being a hedge trainer. I think all the the knowledge and all the feedback we got, it's I think it was invaluable back in the days. And I often think back about these times and how much I think they formed us as trainers, and like they planted the seed of how CrossFit should be done and executed properly. So yeah, I think it's so awesome that you've been that our roads crossed 2010 and that we had so much fun in the early days of CrossFit in Europe.
Absolutely, man. I still remember. I think we were at the Fight Center in Stockholm, and we were talking about, I think it was the medicine ball clean, and we're like, you know what these guys need? They just need more fucking reps. They just got to work hard. And like that has stayed with me my entire coaching career. It's like, I don't care what your goal is, you just need to work hard. Like work hard at doing it better, work hard at doing it right, just work hard. And I think that it's one of those things it has definitely served me well as an athlete, as a coach, you know, as a trainer training trainers. It's like, hey, you need to understand it's all difficult. It's going to be hard. That's what's necessary to succeed. Like you gotta work hard, man. But yeah, so let's see. So I got on staff in 2010, and it was about that time frame. I think, yeah, back in the Netherlands, we were watching the US, you know, via the internet, and they were doing all these throwdowns. And we're like, man, we can do that too. And so we started, at the time, we called it Sint Gone Bad. There was a very horrible horror movie that came out back then about Sinterklaas. And so it was like a take on that and Fight Gone Bad. And the very next year, we changed the name to Lowlands Throwdown. So the very first edition was 2010. And I was one of the directors of the organization and the programmer and head judge from 2010 to 2016. So I played a pretty big role in that. And then in 2016, I said, I love you guys, but I'm out. I can't do this anymore. Like it's just too much. And then 17, 18, 19, I competed at Lowlands. So it was the very first time that I could be a part of it as an athlete, which was way easier than organizing the big events, especially compared to the later years when it just really took off. Like it became a very, very big event. Lots of competitors. I think the highest point for me when I was involved was, I think we had like 2,000 people in the qualifier. It was insane. And then you have, you know, all these different age groups, and it was just really, really cool. Lots of people, hundreds of volunteers, tons of people showing up to just watch people exercise. It was really cool to kind of help develop that part of the sport of CrossFit locally in the Netherlands. And then, yeah, man, I don't know, like Basti and I, we've been going to, how many times have we gone to the games, dude? Like we did a bunch of judging. Like, I don't know.
4 years, I think the last one that was there was 2014 or 2015.
Okay, yeah.
No, it was before that.
No,
Because I will say that I was in 2014 and 14 to 16. I was there, and I don't think you, Basti, were there.
And it was 2013. I can't really. 2013 when I met my wife, or when I think it was the first year with my wife that we went to the States and stayed there for a month, and
okay.
She did like an internship at some place with another plastic surgeon, and then afterwards we met and we traveled around for 3 weeks. That was it was really nice.
Cool.
But, what made you get back into the Lowland Throwdown?
Well, I guess there's two things that happened. My experience as an athlete was great, but after 2019, I was like, never again. I'm done with that, man. Like,
really?
I don't know. It was just, I don't want to say I burnt myself out, but dude, my priorities changed. I just didn't want to invest that much time in training. Like I did, let's see, I competed as an elite in 2017, and it's definitely elite in quotations because that was way beyond me. Like I was top 3 of the bottom 10 at the end of the weekend, you know? And it was really cool to experience it at least once. But then 2018 and 19, I was a master's athlete. I was a master in 2017 too, but my ego didn't let me admit that. So in 18, I was fourth. And I was like, son of a gun, man. If I was 1 second faster, if I had done one rep more, like maybe I could have got on the podium. So that motivated me for a whole year. And in 2019, I was second. And it was super cool. It was a great experience, but it was just tough. It was a whole year committed to training to get that goal.
2019?
Yeah, I was second in the Masters division, 35 to 39. Yeah. So
I remember you as an athlete, you competed in the first regionals in Europe as well, did you?
Yeah, 2011, man. Yeah, that was back when if you could do all the movements, you pretty much qualified for the regionals, right?
It's still so funny. If you go back and watch all these videos and how people move, I think it's so hilarious to contrast to what's happening now. And
so funny. Yeah.
How much the bar raised and how much better people are at the moment than they have been like 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I just take those two experiences, right? 2019, me as a Masters athlete, right? Masters athlete. And 2011, I was 26, something like that. So a little bit younger, like 11 years, whatever, 10 years, I don't even know, younger. And we had to do 100 kettlebell swings with a 24 kilo kettlebell back in 2011. That was one of the workouts, right? At Lowlands Throwdown, as a Masters athlete, we had to do one arm dumbbell snatches with 45 kilos. I was like, what? Just to think of that, that's for the old guys, I mean, just insane, man. There's such a huge gap or an evolution. That's what it is, man. We didn't know what was possible back then. And the way that people have trained, the attention to detail, the different methods people are using, it's just really grown. It's cool. It's really, I mean, that part's really fun to see. Yeah.
Have you completely switched off your athletic endeavors? I mean,
no, I can't. I don't think I can ever do that. So maybe competitive CrossFit for right now
that's what
is definitely, it's definitely not on the table. But for me, this one thing. Okay, so the pandemic, what it really did for me is it was like a hard reset for everybody, right? Everybody's life came to kind of the standstill, hit the brakes. And where I live in the Netherlands is really beautiful. It's a large nature area, and there's some of the best mountain biking in the Netherlands. And I've lived there for like 2 years, and I'm like, dang it, I used to do a lot of mountain biking back in the States. Why don't I do that here? And so I just reshifted. I just changed my focus. I think we've all done this. Like when we started doing CrossFit back in the day, we did CrossFit to support our lives. And then we start our boxes and then we live to CrossFit, right? And now it's just shifted back. So I do CrossFit is still my foundation. I have maybe 4 or 5 sessions a week, but then I'm also training jujitsu 3 times a week, 2 or 3 times a week. I'm mountain biking at least once a week, I'm doing other stuff. So
what's so interesting? I think Coach Glassman really was a genius, or still is a genius, whatever.
I agree, man.
You read Fitness in 100 Words, and I think this is what one of the most common mistakes I see everybody doing that starts crossing, getting super excited about CrossFit. They don't read Fitness in 100 Words, and they skip the last sentence, which actually says regularly learn and play new sports. And
you got it.
I thought about this for quite a bit of time, and I did a lot of neuroathletic training and all the C-Health stuff. And I think what's really in the end that the benefit of applying your fitness is that you actually really need to interact with your environment, that you need to interact with other people, that you need to react to something. In contrast to what we do in our training, it's just us in the environment, but I think there's no feedback, there is nothing that you need to take care of. And I think that's why it's so cool if you do any kind of sport and you're outside and you do something. I think the benefits that you reap out of that are amazing, and most people are not really aware of it. And I think
I agree, man.
And
I totally agree.
and I just read the mission statement from CrossFit Linchpin, and I think what he, if you haven't read it, I read it. I think it's really, really cool. And he has the same attitude of do less better, like stick to one session a day. He says he's in the game for longevity and health and not competitive CrossFit. And I think also normal people that start ramping up the training volume, I think very often they don't know that they can do other stuff as well. And that 5 to 6 sessions a week will make you amazingly fit, and you can still go out there and do the fun stuff as well. I mean, the fun stuff. CrossFit is fun as well. But learn stuff, like get new skills into your get new skills in and just become a more well-rounded human being, and not just
absolutely
10 kilos more in your deadlift.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about 10 more kilos on the deadlift.
I agree.
You know me, But no, I hear you, man. I'm right there with you. I think I tell people all the time, like, listen, if you come and do CrossFit 3 times a week, and you've done that for 10 years, you're probably fitter than everybody you know that doesn't train with you at the box.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like everyone outside of the box, you're probably fitter than them. Like, period, man. And that's 3 times a week. You know, if you get someone that has the capacity or the time to do 5 or 6 days a week, holy shit, man. Like you're a fire breather. You know,
and 5 hours a week or 3 hours a week. I think that's still
right
that you get away with. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, that was the best selling point for me when I was back in the day when I was a firefighter. Dude, I could go to I'd get off shift, and then like my station captain at the time, he'd say, "Hey, Mooney, those workouts you do, you're pretty fucked afterwards, man. I don't think you should do that when you're on shift." I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. You know, like I was like, all right, yeah, I'll work out after my shift. And so I'd get off shift, I'd go work out, and then like in the winter, I'd bring my snowboard gear, and I would do my workout, get in the car, and go snowboarding. You know, like 45 minutes, an hour. You know, and that was back in the day when all that you could find online was CrossFit.com. So like if someone told me like, yeah, well, what is part A, B, C, and D of your workout? I would have been like, you're crazy, man. I do the Samson stretch, you know, I do some push, you know, and then I do the warm up. Yeah.
Hilarious. So competitive CrossFit is kind of out of you, but what's your role in the Throwdown now? Are you programming for the Throwdown, or are you?
No. So the guys, the organization, of course, you know, I mean, it's near and dear to my heart, right? And I know everybody that's in the organization, all the directors. And I've always been in communication with them, you know, and talking with them. And finally, the director, Robin Stalma, he, you know, he's been flirting with me for a couple of years. He's been trying to get me back. You know, I'm like, no, but I definitely need some time in between, right? And he finally came to me and he's like, hey man, would you maybe think about just helping a little bit? And so the way that I see it, and what the conclusion we came to is the best way that I could serve the organization was to just share my experiences and kind of be a sounding board for either Robin as the director, you know, like with my experience as a floor judge and assistant head judge at the regionals and at the games, you know, that's where we took a lot of our lessons and applied them to Lowlands. So helping Robin out with that kind of stuff as the director of the entire organization. But then also the programmer and also the head judge, just talking with them like, all right, guys, have you thought about this? You know, like this in years past when I was programming, these are the things I thought about. This was my evolution as a programmer. You know, the very first Lowlands we ever did, you know, the big whoa was that they had to do 50 double unders. You know, like we've come a long way, you know what? We did like a chipper, it was like out and back, and at the end point it was 50 double unders, like you know, 2010, that was like science fiction, man. Like, you mean unbroken? You know, like no, nobody can do that, you know, like but just sharing those experiences, you know, with the programmer. And then like I was definitely the guinea pig for a couple workouts, you know, for the qualifier workouts, and then for finals workouts. I had the programmer over to my box, and we just threw up everything on the board, man. And we went through it and we're like, all right, cool. Did you think about this? What's the total volume going to be at the end of the weekend? What are you testing? What do you want? You know, like, are you biased any direction? Just trying to be that sounding board.
Cool.
And so really it's, you know, I consider my position now as competition director more of a support position. If, you know, like next year, you know, unfortunately we weren't able to have a live competition this year. During the live competition on the floor itself, I may have a little bit more of a role in the sense, like dealing with athletes, for example. The programmer, he shouldn't ever have anything to do with it. His, you know, at that point when the live competition is happening, he's done, man. He should just be having fun, watching people do his thing. The head judge, he might talk to the programmer, like, all right, what's the intention? You know, but at that point they should have that pretty much squared away. But my role would be more kind of supporting the head judge, I think, on the floor itself, and maybe dealing with some athletes. But that's pretty much the extent of my involvement at this point. Yeah.
We briefly touched the topic of programming, not only at the Throwdowns, but for yourself as well. What are you doing at the moment, programming wise?
So it's been interesting because I was training, I think it was still about like 6 days a week. I had a full rest day and then like an active recovery day, which was kind of like a training session, but you know, it was definitely programmed and more traditional kind of CrossFit stuff. But now with the introduction of jujitsu, like and then like a mountain biking session, I've had to change that around a lot, and I've got kind of a West Side influenced kind of strength template, yeah, and then like my one mountain biking session a week and my 2 or 3 jujitsu sessions, those go a long way for conditioning. I've been pretty good. Now I just did a assault bike GHD strict pull-up workout, and I felt like I never trained in my life. You know, so again, it's just like we say, you know, you can do running, you can do jujitsu, but if you add weights and running, you're fucked. Yeah. So that kind of stuff is, you know, that level of conditioning, that specific CrossFit style conditioning is a little bit less. I probably do about 2 Metcons a week. And then I've got just a more typical West Side split: max effort lower, max effort upper, and then dynamic, you know.
The reason for this, is it because you found out that the CrossFit in combination with the Jiu-Jitsu was too intense? I just remember I started BJJ as well, and I think in March or so, I did a session where I trained in the morning. I did a CrossFit workout, then I went for a 2-hour or 3-hour bike ride, and then the afternoon I trained 2 hours BJJ, and I was completely wasted. It was way too much for a day. And the Jiu-Jitsu is brutal. It's brutal for like all the gripping stuff and
dude. Yep.
Yeah. So you changed it accordingly to like figuring out, okay, it doesn't fit well with the Jiu-Jitsu schedule at the moment.
Absolutely, man. And I just adapt the training to how I'm feeling. You know, that's the, you know, with what is it, 16 years of CrossFit now, or 15 years of CrossFit. You know, you kind of know how your body's going to react to some stuff. And, you know, I got 20 plus years of training, physical training. 15 years of that has been like CrossFit specific stuff. And it's like, what's my priorities? Yeah.
I still think it's one of the beauties of CrossFit, at least how I see it, is if you have a decent experience and you know what you're doing, you can dial the program so much to your needs, and it will still be exceptionally better than almost anything else that you can do. But like figuring out doing functional movements, like keeping the training intensity fairly high, and then whether you do more gymnastics, more strength training, more weightlifting training, I think you should still from time to time do all the stuff, but I think it does not necessarily always need to be like OG CrossFit, which I think is amazing for people that 3 to 5 hours that they can spend at the gym. But if you have like an active schedule of 10 to 15 hours, I mean, why not play around a little more with it and see what you get?
I know. I mean, like for me, there's a tradition that I have like in between Christmas and New Year's. I do 2 things. I do a Fran and I do a marathon row. And last year, I couldn't bring myself to do Fran as written because I know I knew I wasn't gonna come anywhere close. Like my ego wouldn't let me. So I was, you know what? I'll do a dumbbell Fran. That'll be better. Now it was still horrible, but I could accept the fact that I was minutes slower, than my PR Fran. Yeah, exactly. It was the dumbbells. That's why I was slower. It wasn't my fitness, right? But still, like, I mean, even with dumbbells, I got a sub 5 dumbbell Fran.
That's right.
I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. And where I am right now with what I'm, if I'm making progression and learning with the sports that I'm doing outside of CrossFit, and at the same time, a couple of weeks ago, I PR'd my back squat. Like, dude, I'm not going to complain. I can't complain. I don't, like it's my fitness is serving me well at this point. So
that's very cool.
Yeah, man. Right on.
Adrian,
what else?
Any great ideas about our discussion?
I wouldn't say ideas. Yeah, I think it's. Was that?
Just mind blowing, isn't it?
It is. It is. I have to admit that I think I'm a little bit slow and foggy because of COVID. It's kind of hard to concentrate. I've been noticing for the last 2 days maybe. I just got positive on Friday, Thursday, can't remember.
Shit, man.
So everything fine other than I lost my taste. I've been training almost every day other than one, but I can see that it's hard. I think I noticed it yesterday. It's hard to concentrate and be focused on something and be, as creative or spontaneous, whatever you want to say, as normal. So for me, it's perfect that you guys are talking and I don't have to do any, interaction, and because I might be a bit slow. Yeah, but other than that, it's fine. Good thing I took some notes before, so I know I have some questions about the Lowlands. Things that maybe people is curious. At least I am curious about it. We had a guy not at the Lowlands, at the German Throwdown, competing. One of our guys competing. So for him was, at the beginning was a little bit challenging, a little bit frustrating that he needed to do another online competition. He admitted at the end that he enjoyed it more than any other competition because they have an amazing community at their box and they live in a small place, kind of near where I live. So a few people drove all the way there, and then he had a lot of friends every day with him, supporting him with him when he was doing the watts. So I'm not sure if you were involved also in this online competition, or you didn't have to do anything in this case.
No, I was not involved with that. CrossFit headquarters or the games department, they really did as much as they possibly could to support all of the competitions. It was very cool. They were working with it. We had weekly phone calls with them, like, hey guys, how's it going in your country right now? What in real time, basically. And they always, from the very beginning, they wanted to partner with us, and they wanted to ensure that the organization would survive. And they didn't want us to ever have the feeling like, okay, we have to force an event that's going to basically bankrupt us. And so for us, like personally, Lowlands, the reason that we had to make the decision to go to a virtual event is there was just too much uncertainty around having a huge event, and let alone like whether or not the athletes would be able to get here. Like how are we going to get hundreds of athletes to fly into the Netherlands when right now we don't even know how that's going to work? Like, okay, are we going to have a COVID passport, a vaccination passport, or that, I know in the Netherlands, we're just rolling that out right now, that if you're fully vaccinated, you have like an app and you can prove it. There was way too many uncertainties. And so I feel that the whole team at the games department, they just did a really, really good job making as shitty as the decision was, making it okay. So I understand and I can relate completely with the athletes. Like, I know what it's like to do online qualifiers and have to do all the filming, and you're like, oh, damn it, man. Like, where's my measuring tape? And, Is it centimeters or inches? Is it pounds or kilos? What do you want? You know, like, it's just the right angle, is the clock, and that kind of stuff. And nothing compares to an on-site competition. But it's really cool that your guys' athlete had all those friends that were still able to come out and kind of cheer him on. So maybe he's still got that feeling a little bit of doing a live comp.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for a year or maybe more, I think nobody had the experience of inside competition. So, you know, he was. I think it was the second time that he qualified for a sanction event first, and then the semifinals. He went to Norway 2 years ago or whenever it was. He was really looking forward to this one. It ended up being online, and I guess a lot of other athletes were a little bit sad because they couldn't do it. But as you say, nobody knew if they could even fly, and under what conditions to fly, and you know, quarantine, no quarantine. It was difficult at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what. If you guys got any kind of feedback from athletes, obviously this is something that you are not going to repeat, I guess, that next competition will be, the next semifinals will be online. I mean, inside, if another, you know, end of the world is coming,
right.
let's
get COVID 20, right? You know.
Yeah, quite. Yeah. Yeah, so you're planning to be involved for the next year.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's one thing that I kind of I think the success of Lowlands reflects how much we take feedback to heart. Like every single year, like we're our biggest critics, no matter what. We tried from 2011 when I participated as an athlete in the regionals, and then every year after that I was a judge at either the regionals or the games. Everything that we learned there, we tried to reflect or model at the Lowlands. Now, there's a difference in budget, of course, between Lowlands and the regionals and the CrossFit Games. But as we grew as an organization, we were able to come closer and closer to that kind of experience. And every year, you know, talking to the athletes, talking to the volunteers, talking to the staff. I mean, everybody. That's what helped us grow and improve from year to year. So, you know, everyone's gonna be pissed off. You know, well, no, not everyone. There's always going to be someone that gets upset with the programming, or, you know, like, oh, they didn't have my favorite flavor of soda, or there should have been more coffee options. It's like, okay, great, noted. You know, we'll take that into account. You can't please everybody every time, but we really did our best, and the whole team, to make it better every year. And I think, yeah, I mean, Lowlands is, you know, it's one of the longest running competitions in Europe. And I mean, I think it's the best, you know, but I'm a little bit biased. So
Are you having the same venue since, because I think I remember talking with Robin in 2014, 15, something like that. And I think you guys were moving to a new venue at that time. I think it was like a velodrome.
Yes,
I can't remember exactly, but
yeah.
Right, yeah.
Is
it in this? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that one. Is it still the same venue?
Yeah, still the same venue. And you know, we've looked around a lot. Like it would be great to get to Amsterdam or you know, like one of the bigger cities. But again, that's exactly best. You got it, man. You know, I think a lot of spectators, a lot of athletes. My experience, at least, is they have never participated as within the organizations, or not to the same extent as someone that's set up one of these competitions. They really don't know how much effort and time and money goes into these things. And yes, there are some competitions that are highly profitable, but not all of them, and to different degrees. And so to make that move, I mean, we're really happy with Apeldoorn. It's an amazing facility. The athletes get an athlete experience. You know, we've had many athletes that have competed at regionals before, and they've come and told us, hey guys, this is what it feels like. It feels like a regionals event. And for us, that's one of the best compliments we get. That's really nice. So yeah, man. You know, and if we can offer them, I mean, my goal as a programmer was always, I want to have the best test possible, find the fittest individuals, but I also wanted my, flair on it. So I would, at least one workout would be a typical Mooney thing, like I wanted some weird shit, because I believe that's what CrossFit's for. It's not snatches and muscle ups, man. It's
remember any of the workouts where you would say it was weird shit, like with the Mooney thing?
Oh yeah, dude. Oh man, my favorite programming experience the whole time. It was I made a puzzle, and so what happened is you had the judge standing behind a box, and they had like a flip book, right? And on the flip book you had 5 shapes. It was 4 or 5 shapes. It was like a star, a triangle, a circle, and a square, something like that, right? And the athlete was like 3, 2, 1, go. So the judge lifts up the book. The athlete looks at it. The athlete says, okay, good. And the judge lays it flat and steps back. They had to go do like legless rope climbs. I think it was 20 calories on the assault bike. They'd come back and the athlete had 4 cards and they had to put the cards in the order. And the judge would get confirmation, hey, good? And they're like, yeah, good. And then they would lift it up. Now, if they got it right, they would go to the next page. So it was 3 rounds in total. If they got it wrong, they had to do like 30 calories on the bike as a penalty. Now, I'd been trying to figure out a way to program this for about 5 years. So back when I was in the military, when I was in the Army, we used to do target acquisition drills and quick reaction fire stuff. So you'd stand there on the line, they'd blow a whistle, they'd say a shape, you turn and you'd have to hit the right target, right? And I'm like, man, how can we do this? How can we get that like mental stress with the physical stress combined? And I remember talking to Bosman about it. I talked to a bunch of guys at the games about it. Like, how can you do this? How can you do this? And finally, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna do it this way. And before. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say something later on, but I think there's so many ways or apps up that you can use great reaction stuff. And one of the things that I regularly use with my kids and other athletes that I train is they're called blaze pods. Have you heard?
Okay.
Blaze pods. It's just like blinking lights where they can blink in all different colors. You can make competitions. Okay. The kids are running in the background. We have like my son Carl, he has the red ones, Theo has the green ones, and they pop up and you need to run to it, tap it out, and then they need to check again.
Awesome.
And you can make so many really cool drills also with the athletes in CrossFit. I think where something pops up, you need to do something, and then it pops up somewhere else and you need to go to the next station. I think that would be hilarious to
exactly, right? But and the thing is, how often do they train this stuff?
Yeah.
They don't, because they're working on their 1 rep max snatch, right? They're working on their pull-ups. They're working on their, and again, like you know what I mean? Like, yeah, exactly. So I thought it would be a cool test. And the other thing is like the scoring for that one workout was less than the other. So it wasn't weighted more heavily. And I knew going into that event that when I first announced it, people would lose their mind. What? This isn't CrossFit, like right? And that's exactly what happened. They all lost their shit, right? They would do the workout, and I was like, you know what? Listen, at least one person's going to quit the whole competition. One person's going to be so pissed he's going to quit. I guarantee it. I guarantee like this. I think this is going to happen. They're going to lose their mind. One person's going to quit, but when it's all said and done, they're going to realize, hey, you know what? It's okay. And that's exactly what happened. Of all the competitors, well, actually 2 people quit, but one dude quit because of the workout, and the other dude quit because he was this awesome guy from Germany. I forgot his name, but like that same year, we had a workout where they had to complete 50 double unders unbroken, and it was like it was like an AMRAP in I think 8 minutes. It was like double unders and like farmer's carry. I don't know, something like that, right? But they were very specific. Like you had to do the things unbroken. And so he had that workout that didn't go too good for him. And then he had the puzzle workout. And this guy, he was so awesome, man. After the event, he was like, Nolan, I have competed at Lowlands many years. It's my favorite competition. I just can't handle it this year. He's like, I want to thank you for a great competition, but my head is just not in it this year. I can't. It's just fucked up. And then he went outside and smoked a cigarette. Like I was and another guy he just it was just a difference of opinion. He didn't believe that it was CrossFit and he didn't want to do it. And that's fine. And every other athlete, they dealt with it. Like you saw the resilience in them as human beings. And
I hate
some of them loved it. Some of them loved it, man. I thought it was fucking great, but yeah.
Very cool. That's a cool event.
Yeah. That was my favorite, like, weird thing. The other stuff, I always tried to throw in some kind of weird implement. We had a year where we did strongman stones, and I think the men's weights it was like 60, 80, 100, and then 115. So pretty big stones for CrossFitters, right? And then they had to, it was like a head-to-head thing. So you had two athletes and they each had their stones, and they had to do all 4 stones. And then the first one, then they had to, like, the first one that was done had to run to a sled that was like a wheelbarrow and then roll the wheelbarrow over the line. But there was only one wheelbarrow for 2 people. So, like, the first thing was like, are they going to get all the stones up? Because there were some athletes that didn't get past the 3rd stone. And then the next one was like, well, how fast could you do it? So that was some fun stuff. There's a lot of strategy involved, and cool. It's pretty neat. Yeah. But I always, go ahead.
No, are you missing the programming side of like programming the events, or is it like, are you happy that you don't have the pressure and the like fulfilling the expectations of the athletes, or is it that you're like, I would like to program as well?
You know what, man? I love programming, and I have never once. I guess maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm an asshole or something, but I've never once thought, like, am I fulfilling the expectations of the athletes? I didn't think about them because it was my test. Okay. Like I have a very clear definition in my head of what fitness is. And it was my kind of creative insight, I guess, that would determine, okay, what is it? And then afterwards I would look at the results and I would say, okay, cool. They scored better here than I thought. They didn't score as well as I thought here. I'm going to have to make adjustments in the future. And yeah, so, but I never once thought, I was always open to feedback from the athletes. I really wanted that. And some of them, they gave really, really good feedback. Like, wow, man, at the end of day 2, I didn't expect to be this wasted here, or, oh man, like, that kind of stuff. So that was very, very helpful, but I never felt pressure.
That's nice.
Yeah, from them. And I really enjoyed this year helping the programmer, Kevin, kind of go through his process,
But I think it's also really nice to, like, reflect on the workouts and give feedback without doing them yourself, because I still think if you want to come up with good workouts, it's quite a bit of a time investment and a lot of cognitive processing that you need to do to, like, make it well-rounded and like fitting together.
Absolutely.
And still having great tests. But speaking about the test, that's the other question I wanted to ask you. Like, if you say you want to test something, like, how specific are you in saying this test is for that? And I'm making my question more precise or specific. I did a couple of the OPEX courses years ago, and after a recent discussion with Yami, I think it's a year ago as well. We said, like, that, like, they are so super, like, we test every athlete in each category with, like, their aerobic fitness, their anaerobic fitness, and it's everything is, like, super precise. And what he basically like, in our discussion, what he said is like, I think it's not, basically boiling it down to, it's not necessary to be that specific for each individual. And it reminded me of Jason Khalipa, who was training with his training buddies back in the days. Sometimes it seemed that they didn't have the most elaborate programming. They had like a shitload of fun. They were like burning it down together, like celebrating each workout, and they got great success out of that, even without being so super specific. But designing the tests, what I think is super interesting, like talking to James Fitzgerald, he always said he's better in doing CrossFit, but his brother is fitter. And I was always like, yeah, that's a weird statement. And what he said is like, yeah, you know what? If we both row 2,000 meters, he's going to be faster than me. If we lift like a 1 rep max in this lift, he's going to be faster, stronger than me. So in all like single modality categories that they were training, his brother was exceeding like his physical capacity, but in like mixing these things up, he was still better and beating him. So
it's the hopper, right? Again, I think it goes back to what Glassman said, you know, like it's, you know, the athlete that performs statistically best that come across all activities come out of the hopper, he or she is the fittest.
Yeah, but that's that. Going back to my question about the test, like how specific are you in? Like, when you come up with your workout schedule, let's say this way.
Yeah.
You have a workout that says, okay, I want to test a little bit more aerobic capacity. Do I want to have a workout that is very strength biased? Is there like one where we go, okay, high level gymnastics? So like how do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
The specific.
Yeah, like I think of all of those kind of elements, right? So like, yeah, I'm definitely going to pick maybe like I'll think of time domains, I'll think of volume, I'll think of, you know, whatever kind of metabolic stimulus that we're looking for, right? Absolutely, all those things. But well, you know the quote, right? Like, what is it? The science is in the explanation, you know, and dude, the magic is in the movement, the science is in the explanation, the art is in the programming. It's an art, man. You feel it. Like you can write a workout down, and yes, a lot of consideration goes into it. I know if I want to hit a specific time domain, yeah, you have to have that knowledge of how long certain things take. But you can feel when you look at that workout, when you read it, you feel whether or not it's like, I don't know. And then you got to do it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the other thing. And one of the hardest things, and I think that's something that Dave ran into definitely in the last like 5 years with programming for the games. If you look at like the demo team, the people that test the workouts for the games, they have to be games athletes.
Agreed.
Because gone are the days. I mean, you remember back in the early days of us judging the games, we'd show up and we were the ones testing workouts.
Do you remember? I just have this awesome memory. I think it was 2013. When Dave said, yeah, hey, who wants to volunteer like doing this workout? I go, yeah, okay, I can do it. And it was this fucking yoke carry with the swinging yokes.
Yes.
Yeah, you know. And I lifted it up. I took a step. I crumbled and fell over. He was like, "Get me someone else. Get me somebody stronger." And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, Dave. I'm out here." But it's crazy, and I think nowadays it must be way worse. If you look at the capacity that people developed over the last 10 years, it's just sick.
Insane.
And I think if you take normal people testing the workouts, you'll get so much, like your perception of what the people are able to do will be like way off, and you won't hit the intended stimulus because you'll probably make it too light or too easy.
Right. Or the athletes do too much.
Yeah.
You might break people. You know what I mean? Like it's this crazy balance, you know? I think one thing that helped me a lot with programming throughout the years is that every single year that I was part of the organization, I always did the qualifiers and I always did all of the final events. And I could see where every single year until 2016, based off of my scores, like when we would film the qualifier videos, I would do the workouts in between filming. And with my performance, I would qualify. I would have qualified, right? Up until the last year, 2016, I didn't make the cut, man. And you know, with some of the workouts, I would perform better. You know, in the finals, there wasn't a single year that I would have won the Lowlands. I don't think, you know, but I was at that level, and that helped me a lot. The other thing is the level of athlete in Europe throughout those years was lower than the US. So when we would go to the games, we would see what, you know, elite athletes could do, how they would perform. And I would remember that. You're like, all right, cool. What are the weights are they using there? And then I would think, what did we use at Lowlands last year? Man, we're like 30, 40 kilos away from that. Cool. What steps are we going to make? And then as the years progressed and as the athletes evolved here in Europe, we were able to dial that up a little bit. But me being at the same level of fitness, it kept, the level of relativity, you know, like it kept it relative, and I could maintain that. But nowadays, man, it's super hard. It's super tough. Like you have to have really fit people test your workouts, or else you run into problems, man, pretty quick.
Yeah, I think I think Dave spoke about it when I once met him. It was super interesting when he's like how much he knows about all the athletes, how much they could live.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has all that stuff in his head, like how
Dude.
many kilos different athletes progressed over the last 6 or 7 years, and then trying to come up with workouts that will actually really challenge them, not break but challenge them. And I think I think especially if you're not super competitive. And I think I don't know if Dave is I think he's super competitive, but he's not a competitive CrossFit athlete.
Right.
But I think it must be really hard to come up with all the tests that you're not even able to do yourself.
Yeah.
Like figuring out the stuff, if you're not able to do it, I think it's especially hard, and you need to know people fairly well and have a lot of experience. Like
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's again, like what I said earlier, like, you know, the art is in the programming. You feel the workout. I guarantee if I wrote a workout, it doesn't matter what it would be. If I showed it to you right now, because of the thousands of WODs that you've done, you'd be able to know immediately, like, ugh, or okay, you know, I can kind of handle that, right? Like where it's going to be on that spectrum.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, man.
What?
Go ahead, Basti.
No, it's just one question. Is I think in the whole CrossFit world there was a big shift when, like, with Glassman himself, and then also with his Flight 19 comment. But I think one of the changes was the evaluation of the CrossFit Games. And do you still feel that there's this two sides to CrossFit, where one is hey, this is what we do for health, and this is what we do for being competitive athleticism? Or do you think what's happening at the moment is more uniting those things, but just realizing it's just like a spectrum of where people are on this sliding scale, or do you still think it's like two different camps that are out there, and people are like still afraid of CrossFit and don't want to come in and do CrossFit because they think it's only for super fit people and dangerous?
Yeah.
What's your take on that? And also, what's your take on the decision that Glassman made? I think for the company it was probably a really bad decision back in the days to cut off all these media coverage of the CrossFit Games. But
yeah.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying. I think when the CrossFit Games started, I mean, we were doing CrossFit before there was the CrossFit Games. So for us, CrossFit has always been CrossFit. So it's very difficult, I think, for us to have a different perspective. You know what I mean? Like if I had never done CrossFit before and I Google it right now, the first things that come up, right? You know, or if you look on Netflix, you're going to see documentaries about these super athletes, these superhumans. And I could definitely understand how someone might be scared or be intimidated. And I think what we've always done at, you know, like at my first box at CrossFit FSF, although we were the founding, you know, members of the Lowlands Throwdown, we've always made a distinguishment between competition and health, you know, like CrossFit for life or CrossFit as a sport. They're just two very different things. And we don't see one as better or the other one as worse. They're just different. Now, I don't see, CrossFit hasn't been around as a sport very long, right? You know, you could maybe argue since 2007, but really, I think as like a professional sport, 2013, maybe 14, that's when athletes really started professionalizing their kind of, right? But I don't see that CrossFit is going to be any different. If we think of it as a sport, right? Why would it be any different than any other sport in the whole world? If you take any kind of professional sport and you look at like the longevity of it, you know, we even like, let's take away like contact sports, you know, what if it's athletics, right? How many gold medal, you know, like sprinters are there that are still doing pretty good 50 years later, you know, like, yeah. So top sport, you know, at the highest levels of any sport anywhere, probably not the best for longevity, you know, but And I don't think that CrossFit is going to be any different, in the long run. We don't know. In 20 years, 30 years, we're going to look at the Fronings. We're going to look at the Frasers. We're going to look at the Tia Claire Toomeys. We'll know more. Maybe because CrossFit is this kind of all around thing. They built more bomb-proof bodies. Maybe they'll take care of themselves longer. We don't know. We don't know. I definitely don't think that, like literally going from black to white as what happened with the games where they just fired the entire media department. Like, I don't think that was the best choice either. It's unfortunate. And a lot of the growth of CrossFit came from the media of the CrossFit Games.
So
It works just as much to inspire as intimidate, right?
Yeah, but like for me, the main question is, like, does it inspire the people that are already fit, or does it inspire people that we should get into the box? Like I'm thinking
right.
How do I get people into the box that are not actually doing sports at the moment? I
Mm-hmm.
think this is always like a big take for me. Like, what could we do to get the members to bring their overweight body into the gym, or
Mm-hmm.
their overweight sister, or somebody else like that, where we think like, hey, that's a
Dude,
moment. And
yeah.
also my dad, when my dad started training 7 years ago, I think for him, he's fitter now with 70 that he's been with 35.
Yeah.
He's doing like push-ups, lifting weights. I mean, he's not the greatest athlete out there.
It doesn't matter though.
His exercises every morning. He's training 3 times a week in the box. He's having fun with the people, and he's just in great shape for being 70, going skiing and doing all the other stuff that he always did and wanted to do.
Right.
But for me, the question still is I totally agree. I think it shouldn't be like black or white, but
well, I think the direction we were going I think the CrossFit Health Initiative, I thought that was fantastic. Why can't we do both though?
Oh yeah.
Why? Again, like I don't know, when I'm teaching level 1s, when I'm teaching level 2s, we hear the same, and I'm sure you hear the same thing, man. You hear, especially at the level 2s, you have a box owner that's like, man, what do I do about the people that want to do open gym and train like the super secret ninja program? And what you said about Kalipa when they trained together and how maybe it wasn't the best thought out plan. You know Jesse Ward, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Jesse told me once, and Jesse's also on staff, and he came over here for a level 1. We were just talking about training and frequency and just going on nerd safaris, right? And we talked about like, well, is it safe to squat every day? Can you do that? That kind of stuff. He's like, look, man, I got some young kids that come to the box. They're like 20 years old, 22, and they love to fucking squat. And I'm not going to stop them. They're having a great time. And you know what? They don't get hurt. And I'm like, damn it, man. I think he's right. And like my like totally obsessive, like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to squat every day. That kind of, I'm like, wait. But
you know what?
When they look at the results that they got. Yeah.
There's a book out there. It's called Squat Every Day. There's this guy that I think I'm not really sure how long. I'm not sure if it was like a total year where he squatted every day. But it's actually a fairly nice book and speak about volume and how much can you handle. But I totally agree. I think if you progressively ramp up the load and if you're smart about doing that, you can fairly safely, if you listen to your body, ramp up the volume and start squatting every day. Don't get me wrong. I think squatting super heavy every day or maxing out every day to your
right
is probably not that smart. But I think if you do this in a
I think what people miss is that whole that concept of relative intensity. They see the guy on Instagram that squatted 500 pounds every day for a year, and they're like, that's insane. It's like, yeah, but the guy's back squats 800 pounds. Squatting 500 every day is just not a big deal for him. It's yeah. So yeah.
So the book is called.
I think if you're having fun, man.
Matt Perryman is the author of the book, and it's called Squat Every Day.
Awesome.
I think it's good fun to read the book because it's so crazy.
Yeah. And
he's speaking as well about a little bit about like the science, all that stuff. But it's a really nice book, and like one of the chapters is called the overtraining myth, and I think this is also something when talking to Ramon, a lot of people go like, now everybody has their fancy watches. So we got the
Whoops.
the Whoop, which I think is really nice. But
interesting. Yeah.
Super interesting. But I think knowing your body and understanding what your body feels like and how you can dial in stuff and like ramp up, decrease volume intensity, it gives you so much valuable insight. I just recently, because I biked a little bit more, read a super interesting article about a guy that was only training with the power meter, and he was a professional German cyclist, one of the best youth athletes out there. And he had now I forgot the specific medical term, but oftentimes one of the veins is like contracting too much, and it's causing like a shitload of pain in the legs. And he had this condition, and he still managed to cycle professionally for 2 more years. And what he did was actually he got rid of his power meter and was listening more to his body in regards to like, hey, how can I push in each training session? What feels well, and not like just sticking to the number that the watch is giving you or that anything else is giving you. And I think there's great value in that as well.
Absolutely. Now there is a lot of time that and effort that goes in before that. Like, there's a lot of, adding precision and accuracy into your training is very important. But when you've got 15 years behind you, 10 years of consistent frequency in training, like, when, hey, today's a good day, or hey, maybe I got to pull back a little bit, right? And sometimes you still get it wrong. Or at least like some days I'm like, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm like, nope, nothing works in the gym today. All right, well, like, whoops, I guess I was off,
So, but that said, I think one more interesting topic is like for me, and like also reading what Pat Sherwood posted on his website is I totally agree if people are having fun and they're training, that's great. Do you think there's necessity as a box owner to stop or to resist the urge to add more to each hour, to add volume to each hour, to because I think a lot of people that see the CrossFit Games, they have the perception that they need to train more, and they don't want to spend more time recovering and spend more time eating well, but their goal is to cramp everything into each hour or into 1.5 hours of training without taking anything else and like giving their body time to regenerate, to recover. I'm totally on your side. There are people out there that can handle higher volumes. What do you do with the people? And I think there's quite a bunch of them that think CrossFit means and a CrossFit class means that you always need to have a strength part, that you always need to have a netcon.
Yeah.
Like, what would be your recommendation? I mean, we talked about it obviously before quite often.
No, man. I would. What I've done in the past is I just sit them down. I say, all right, cool. Go ahead, lay out your schedule for me, man. And this is a highly motivated individual, a man or woman, and they're like, oh, well, I have a normal job, full-time job. I work 40 hours a week. I got 2 kids at home. I can only train Monday through Friday, from 7 to 8 o'clock. I'm like, all right, great. So you've got 5 options per week to train. I'm like, can you train on Saturday or Sunday? Nope. Can't do that. I'm with my family. All right, great. Cool. Now let me show you a schedule of one of my friends, James Hobart, or let me show you a schedule of a Games athlete. And let's take let's not even take the winners. Let's take the lowest qualifying Games athlete. First off, they're 23. They've got the best natural anabolic steroids on the planet. They've got the highest levels of hormones that will support the most amount of fitness ever. 23 years old. Okay, they ain't got no job. Like they've no job. They've got no family. They've got no mortgage. They got all they got to do is train like a terrorist. Like that's all they have to do. That's their whole life, right? Everything, maybe they have a significant other what's Matt Fraser's wife's name? They've got a great show, like a YouTube, right? Feeding the Frasers or something like that.
Yeah, I forgot her name.
Yeah, man, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Fraser. But anyways, she makes all his food for him. He gets body work done. he gets, and again, this is the winner of the CrossFit Games. So he's maybe got more money and sponsorships and stuff, but his entire life is designed around that one goal of winning the CrossFit Games year after year after year. And I'm like, and I just make it very clear, like, okay, how much and what are you willing to give up to achieve these goals? Because look, you're not going to get it with 5 hours a week. You're going to change. You have to change everything that you eat, your entire lifestyle. Like, oh, not to mention they all sleep 10 to 12 hours a day. I mean, like, yeah. And when you put it down on paper, I'm like, cool. Like, are you willing to go that far? Is it even possible?
I think that's one of the points, and I think this is what people quickly realize. But what would you say instead? Okay, I have this 1 hour every day. Now instead of doing a 20-minute warm-up, I cut it down to 10 minutes. Then I do like 50 minutes of lifting, and then I do my Metcon and.
Right. Well, then again, I would try to show it in perspective, because I would say, you know what? All those athletes that you're looking at that are doing that, none of them are doing it all in 1 hour. They're taking 4 hours to do that. Like, yeah, you see the clips on Instagram. You see them doing their squats, and then you see them doing their Olympic lifts, and then you see them doing their aerobic capacity, and then you see them, but that's over a 12-hour period. That's 3 different sessions. And you don't see the massage that they have in between. You don't see the meals that are being prepared for in between. You don't see the nap that they took in between, And so again, what I tell coaches at level 1s and level 2s is the best thing that your athletes can get from you, the best thing your members can get from you is the best coaching possible. Maximize your effectiveness as a coach versus the volume that you get into a class. And if we do take that warm up and we cut it in half, and instead of 20 minutes spending time developing technique and preparing you better to maximize your intensity in the WOD, and you rush someone through a quick strength session where, yeah, okay, maybe they get some reps in at a back squat, but the stimulus is probably not high enough to drive adaptation, and definitely not what they're going for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
now, but I don't want people to think that like doing strength and Metcons are wrong, because I do that sometimes. And I definitely did it when I was doing competitive CrossFit, but I also had 2 to 3 hours.
You could train.
Yeah, exactly. I changed my whole schedule around so I could do that. And it still wasn't every day. And you know what? I wasn't even like a really good athlete.
Yeah, this is so funny. This reminds me, because you mentioned James Hobart. He was at the games, I think, 8 times or 9 times. Or
exactly.
And
a million.
He went over to Rich, and I asked him, like, hey guys, what are you actually training? And we had a fairly long discussion. Then he sent me a couple of his training schedules. And it was amazing, like how much they did. Like they had 2 to 3 running sessions, 2 to 3 rowing sessions, being on the bike almost every day, so like swimming sessions, and then they did all their lifting.
Yeah.
And back in the days, they were doing like, I think, dedicated Olympic lifting and strength work, and then their Metcons, 2 to 3 Metcons every day. So it was like a shit ton of volume that they did, and also with fairly high intensities in between. But what I think was really interesting to me, I had a conversation with him about how he feels training with Rich. And I think what he said was really interesting. He said, or I think it was more about self-esteem and how it is to train with Rich. And then he said, you know what? It doesn't matter what we do. Rich, if it's like a 6-week running block or a 6-week strength block or whatever it is, Rich adapts like 1.5% to 2% faster than I do. It doesn't matter like what we do. And I think I think the other really important thing that you need to realize as a human is there's a cool book from Peter Drucker. It's called Manage Yourself, or Managing Oneself. He's like a famous business consultant. I think he was one of the most famous business consultants. And what he said is, you need to know where you're really good at. And a lot of people have the perception that they are able to being elite CrossFitters.
Yeah.
Like you said, like you trained a shitload, but even with you training a shitload, your genetic background and everything else that happened in your life probably didn't predispose you to becoming a CrossFit athlete.
Exactly. And exactly, man. Know yourself.
Is a great relief, for a lot of people. And going back to that is, I think, also like what is training? What do you get out of training? And when I ask him, like, don't you feel shitty when he's like being all these 2% faster than you all the time? And he said, you know what? I have this other part in my life. And for him, it was the job, where he said, you know, every weekend I'm going to inspire like a bunch of other people, coaches, athletes around the globe. And I'm really darn good at doing that. And I think that's so funny for me when I talk to normal people. It's like, hey, what you're really good is you don't need to become a CrossFit athlete. If you want to train a little more, push a little hard in the workout, go out and do something out in the, like go mountain bike climbing, go skiing, do something else. But like these 5 to 6 hours, like hit them really hard in the gym, give your best. And that's probably more than enough. It's the goal.
You know, the other thing, what I've had to been careful about in the past is, I think because of our exposure to games athletes, right? We've been able, from a very, very, very early on, we saw like, wow, what they do is really different than what we do. So like, I never considered myself an athlete because we have friends like James Hobart. We've seen it firsthand. And James never won the games as an individual, you know, I mean, he's super fit. He's been on winning teams before, but holy cow, man, there are levels and they are far above us. At the same time, I don't want to destroy someone's dreams, you know? And if someone wants to get after it, like, I'm like, all right, cool. Now listen, I have my experience as an athlete, right? And I have a lot of friends that have experienced, you know, CrossFit Games athlete level, that kind of stuff. Then I come at them with a very practical, objective kind of layout. Like, this is what's necessary. And if someone really wants to try that, who am I to say, okay?
Oh, I agree. I think that's a
it's not an option. So, so I do. I had to loosen up there because, you know, there's a long time where I was like, no, you're not going to make it.
You know what I think? I think it also, there's like this psychological reflex that I think they call it rightening reflex. If you think that you need to tell somebody else what they should do, but they don't want to do it, they will not do it. And it doesn't matter. Like, if they change the box, they will go somewhere else. They will do the shit anyway. So I think it's really better to go like, hey, you know what? This is a typical week of James Hobart. Let's see if you can figure really out how to train that much. And I think there's a couple of people, at least in endurance sports, that have a normal job and they get up every day at 4 or 5 o'clock or earlier, do their biking session, then they come home and do their swimming session, then they do something else in between. And they have a family, and so who are we to judge what you should be doing or whatnot? But I think there needs to be a realistic conversation about.
The overwhelming majority of top athletes, and again, this is maybe an assumption on my part, but in every sport, the people that are winning, the people that are on the podium, they are doing their thing, and that's it. There's not very many that also have a full-time job, that have all sorts of responsibilities outside of that, you know, or, you know, like, just their responsibilities are supporting by that thing, you know, like a professional triathlete has sponsor money and is paying for his mortgage or her mortgage, you know, from being a high level competitor, you know. So, and most people that are training at our box, they're just not there, man. You know, and then tough one, man. But yeah, I've had to loosen up a little bit. I think relax, maybe, you know.
I think it's also very easy to tell other people, hey, this is not for you, and I think it's probably not good.
I agree.
No, you know, I train 3 hours a day. You are not going to train 3 hours a day.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, you know, when you know, the knee-jerk reaction is to say, hey, don't do strength in a Metcon. But then they're like, well, wait a minute, I saw you on Instagram and you posted, you know, and you're like, oh, maybe, okay. So the real answer is stop posting to Instagram, right? You know, like,
you need to get your shit together yourself first.
No, man, I definitely, no, just try to lay it out with them. Be like, all right, cool. This is the deal. You know, this is what you want, and be able to meet them with where they're at and try to see, okay, are their goals in line with what's really possible? And
Well, that's a smart way I think that's a very smart way of doing that.
We'll see. Come back to me in a couple of years. We'll see if it. it's smart or not. Yeah.
Oh, well, when all the elite athletes are training in your private training studio, man, you'll be there.
Dude, well, this is the thing. I don't know if I'm the right person to train real athletes, because like when I've been at competitions before and I got in trouble. There's one competition here called the Beach Throwdown, and it's a buddy competition. You and a buddy, you go out and you have fun, right? And it's at the beach. It's awesome. Like you go for a weekend, you hang out at the beach doing some exercise.
Cool.
And that's my attitude about it. You know, like I really consider all of the competitions here in the Netherlands as, like amateur, you know? I mean, like it's not professional athletes, but that is not the attitude of my fellow competitors. And sometimes my laissez-faire attitude about like, hey, we're doing some exercise at the beach, doesn't come over too well. You know, because for them it's super serious, man. And they are like, like it must be. It's like with James Hobart, you know, like if they didn't have that perspective that he had, and he saw like no matter what, Rich was always 1% to 2% better. Like that could be super frustrating. You know, if you have some asshole like bald guy that's saying like, oh, we're having some exercise at the beach, you know, it's just fun, and he finishes ahead of you,
and beating the crap.
It's gonna piss you off, man. Like, yeah, you know, like what's that old fucker doing? You know, like so.
Oh yeah, Charlie.
You gotta keep it in perspective.
Very cool, Nolan. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm going to head over to my kids now.
All right, Basti.
Yeah, I think it's been an hour and 15, so I think it's good timing.
All right. We'll rock and roll, guys.
I would love to chat with you again. I think it was really
sure.
Nice.
Yeah, dude. I'm all for it, man. Down for whatever. This is really fun. It's great to catch up with you, Adrian. When you're feeling better too, man, I'd like to get to know you.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, we try to do weekly podcasts, and we always have, you know, different people. We talk about different topics. So it's always cool to repeat and go over different things, and so always welcome.
Yeah.
But you know what's
awesome
really about Nolan? Like I think he has a tremendous amount of experience in a lot of different fields or a lot of different parts of CrossFit that not a lot of people match in Europe or around the world. And I think it doesn't. I think also we could speak about something like nutrition and get a very practical, good, deep insight from somebody that has not only theoretical knowledge but also very, very practical applications of that, which I also think is really valid about the foundations of CrossFit. And I think there's so many topics that we could cover, and it's hard to find anyone that's more elaborate and well spoken than Nolan.
Oh, thanks, Basti. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Yeah, it was really nice. I feel great, dude. Today can't go wrong now. I'm gonna go eat some ice cream. It'll be great. Wait, nutrition. Shit. I'm gonna go have some frozen bananas. Some frozen bananas. They're good, right? That's allowed. No, I would, guys, and I would love to. Anytime, man. You know, like, of course, like Tuesdays work out pretty good for me, but and we can figure out a time anytime. You just send me a message and I'm down.
Cool. That would be awesome.
All right.
Sounds good.
Cool, guys.
Cool.
Thanks, bro.
Then, gentlemen, ciao, right? See you guys later.
See you later.
man.
Yo.